Hey everybody, we are officially live for the first mentor workshop of the spring 2026 semester. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad, so grateful to have you here for our first mentor workshop of the semester. If you are watching this on replay or the recording of this, feel free to fast forward by about 6 minutes. We will get started then. If you're watching the live version, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad to get started. So I'm gonna have Jolene send out this link to your email so then y'all have it. There it is. So anywho, I'm glad to have you all here. I'm grateful to have you all as mentors, and I'm excited to get started. So yeah, Jolene should have sent the link out or is sending the link out right now. We'll get started in 5 minutes, but what's beautiful about having a live stream is that y'all can ask me questions if you have any questions as we work through the semester. Alrighty, so I'm imagining some people are starting to come on in. Cool. There it is. Awesome. Looks like Jolene sent it out. We got two people now. Fantastic. So, for those of you who are entering, please in the chat, feel free to introduce yourself. Share with me who you are, where you're tuning in from, what honor society you're a part of, or university. We'll get started in about 4 minutes. So, 4 minutes is when we will get started. Um, yeah, anywho. Yeah, we'll get started in about 4 minutes. But for those of you who are here, welcome. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. All righty, we got more people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Kristen, University of Toledo, first semester as a mentor. Well, welcome. I'm excited to have you as a mentor. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being here. Nitra, thank you for providing the pronunciation in there. I appreciate it. Where are you tuning in from? Where are you located? And by the way, Kristen, are you in Toledo? I know you're from the University of Toledo. Are you in actually Toledo? Or yeah, where are you located? Post in the comments. Nitra, how about you? Where are you tuning in from? I know there's like a 30-second delay. Strayer University, Baltimore. Very nice. Very cool. Alrighty, for those of you who are just jumping in, welcome, welcome, welcome. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Share who you are. Luna Pier, Michigan. Where is Luna Pier? Is that on the West Coast or East Coast? I'm assuming it's on a coast of Michigan. It could be in the middle, but I'm gonna assume it's on a coast. Dejan, from California and attend Grand Canyon University. Very nice. Jose, very nice. Tucson, very cool. Yeah, introduce where are you tuning in from, what honor society you were a part of, or university. Either is cool. Any fun spring plans that any of y'all have? Maricela, California Lutheran, very nice. Are you in Los Angeles, Maricela? Southeastern Michigan on Lake Erie. Cool, very cool. So is that kind of like near Detroit, Kristen? Austin from Colorado, attending SNHU, currently enrolled in Purdue. Very cool. Um, well, Austin, I'm actually in Austin, but Austin, Texas. Oxnard, very nice. Corey Major, Strayer University. You also in Baltimore, Corey? And NSCS, Jose, very cool. Nitra, very nice. All right, we're gonna get started in like 30 seconds, but any other intros? Introduce yourself in the chat, where you tuning in from, where you went to school. Um, any fun plans for spring? Is anybody doing anything fun in the spring? So Francine, Southeastern University, Lakeland, Florida, very nice. So 25 minutes from Detroit, very cool. Kylie from California, attended Grand Canyon as well. Chicago School of Professional Psychology. So hold on a second. Maybe I'm a little slow to the draw here, Kylie, but there's a Chicago School of Professional Psychology in Anaheim, California. That's fascinating. That's very interesting. Hey, Miranda, welcome. Hey, Brenda, welcome. And it's officially time. We are live. Let's get started on our first mental workshop. So, first of all, thank you all for being here. My name is Garrett Mintz. I'm the founder and CEO of Ambition and Motion. We're the people who put on this mentor program to connect college students with mentors to help them work through their past. So, our vision is a world where the vast majority of people are excited to go to work. When they are there, their expectations meet reality, and when they come home, they feel fulfilled. And we believe that starts with mentorship. We believe that creating environments for students to learn about their career paths, where they're going, what they're trying to achieve. Having a mentor can be incredibly cathartic and helpful to helping them figure out where they want to go professionally and in life. Um, and so we are on a mission to help students connect with mentors, and really all people connect with mentors. So beyond just our higher ed mentor program, we also have an executive mastermind group where we connect leaders with each other for mentorship. And yeah, we also do corporate work for mentorship as well. We just think mentorship can be at the core of building just people up to do the work they want to do and enjoy the work they're doing it with who they're doing it with. Um, so I'm going to give you a little bit of background on me, who I am, what we're all about. So, I got started in mentorship. The business started in 2013. The initial idea behind it was, how do we connect college students with mentors? Really, how do we reduce students' additional semesters of college? I had a lot of friends who were taking quote unquote victory laps, taking an additional semester, an additional year of school, and not really realizing the ramifications of what that 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe even $50,000 meant for their own having to pay that back. And so I thought to myself, like, man, if I could connect these students with mentors, I could have a really positive impact on their ability to figure out, like, is this what I want to do professionally? And so that's how it all got started. And I got into this, and just this is me being a little vulnerable with y'all, but I got into mentorship because I needed mentors in my life. What do I mean by that? I mean, from age 15 to age 19, I was a drug dealer. And at the end of my freshman year at Indiana University, I got arrested. I received 5 felony distribution charges. I was expelled from school and I was facing prison time. I had no idea where I was going to go. I had no idea what I was going to do. But fortunately, I had some people who saw something in me that I didn't quite see in myself. And so they gave me some opportunities. So after getting in trouble, I was able to get into a program called At the Crossroads. It's based in St. George, Utah. It's not necessarily a rehab program as much as it's a program for young people just trying to get their life back on track. I was in this program, and about a month and a half in, I flew back to Chicago. That's where my family's from, to let them know my life's getting on track. And on that flight, I'm reading the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. By the way, comment in the comment section if you've read that book. It's an amazing book. So I'm reading this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I'm sitting next to this guy. We strike up a conversation. He says to me, "What is a 19-year-old doing reading this book that's got to be at least 100 years old?" And we started chatting, and the conversation took off. By the time the plane landed, he turned to me and said, "Hey, by the way, I'm the director of ground equipment for SkyWest Airlines. When you get back from your trip to Chicago, what would your thoughts be on doing an internship with us in our ground equipment department?" Just like that on the spot gave me an internship offer. I mean, it was an unpaid internship offer, but it was an amazing opportunity to gain experience. I remember my first day on the job, HR does this fingerprint scan, and they go to Troy. That's this guy's name. They're like, "Troy, this guy might go to prison in the next 6 months. What are you thinking?" And he stuck his neck out for me. He gave me a chance, and I was so grateful. So the guy who runs this At the Crossroads program in Utah, his name's Brian. He also took me under his wing. And when he saw me get this internship, he kind of saw me as maybe one of his star pupils. And so he started connecting me with other business owners and executives and leaders in the southern Utah area. And I started building my network. I started connecting with more and more people. And that was great for me. But I had a lot of friends and a lot of people I knew in this program that weren't so lucky. Some of them were relapsing. Some of them were stealing. Some of them were not being able to get a job. Some of them were struggling in the jobs that they did have. And so I started connecting these young guys who were in my program with other mentors, with professionals in the community to help them figure out what they might want to do professionally. And I fell in love with that. And I did it under a nonprofit called Building Utah Youth. Court system ended up seeing the work I was doing there. They ended up dropping my felonies to a misdemeanor conviction, and I ended up getting re-enrolled at Indiana University, got into the Kelley School of Business. And shortly thereafter, I started Ambition in Motion, following that kind of same ethos of like, how do I help college students figure out what they want to do in life and professionally? And so we started locally on Indiana University's campus. Um, Initially, I was kind of like a local matchmaker where I'd work with a student, I'd connect them with local mentors. And then some of those mentors got back to me and said, "Hey, Garrett, this student you connected me with, I don't feel like he or she was really prepared for this conversation. Can you do something to just kind of help prepare these students for what it's like to meet with a professional?" And so I said, "Hey, hear you loud and clear." So I started running these on-campus workshops where I teach students how to get their foot in the door for professional opportunities, how to network in a genuine way, how to prepare for the interview, and then how to prepare for that first job or internship. And I started running these workshops, teaching students, and then I'd always connect them at the end of the semester with a mentor. Well, one day, one of the young women in this group that I was growing on IU's camp, Indiana University's campus, came to me and said, "Hey, my sorority, we're tearing down our sorority house, we're building it back up. We want you to run this program, but for all of our sorority sisters with our alumni, we think that this could be a great way to get them back involved in the sorority, maybe even donate to the sorority house, but at minimum, just help our students connect with our alumni for mentorship." Well, their national headquarters heard about this and said, "We want to do this, but for all of our chapters nationwide." And we said, "Sure, we'll figure it out." And so eventually we grew to hundreds of campuses. We facilitated thousands of mentorships. And one of the early things we learned was that this traditional model of mentoring wasn't working. So this idea of saying, "Hey, here's a student in marketing, here's a professional in marketing, let's put you both together." We found that only 18% of those relationships lasted for 6 months and were considered productive and quality. So I partnered with these industrial organizational psychologists. We studied that 18%, and we identified these two factors that directly correlated to successful mentorships. The first was how you view the relationship. So I get it. I know that you're the mentor in this scenario, but if you can mentally come into this relationship with a mindset like, "I can learn from this student just as much as they can learn from me," what we found was that you're going to have a much more productive and high quality mentorship than if you think like, "Oh, I'm obviously the mentor. They're here to learn from me and soak up whatever knowledge I have to share." I think if mentally you can come into this relationship with the mentality that they can learn from you just as much as you can learn, or they can learn from you just as much as you can learn from them, you're going to have a much more productive and quality mentorship. That's at least what the research has identified for us. The other factor, and if you've been on your dashboard since Jalena's made the mentor introduction, you've already probably seen this. and I'll show it to you now. But the other factor is this area of research called work orientation. So I'll share with you my screen. Some people view their work as a job, some people view their work as a career, and some people view their work as a calling. Let me screen share here. So some people view the work as a job, career, or calling. There's not a right or wrong work orientation. It's not good or bad. It's on a spectrum, so you can be in between categories and it's fluid. So where you were 5 years ago could be different from where you're at today. But what we learned is that when two people's work orientations are aligned at this given moment in time, the likelihood that relationship lasts for 6 months and is considered productive and quality is 4 times greater than if it's just based on what you do. So it's about why you do your work, not necessarily what you do for your work. And so you might find that your student mentee is in a different field than maybe the path you've chosen. That's okay. What we find is that as long as your work orientations are in alignment, you're much more likely to have a productive and quality mentorship than if we just paired you with somebody else who's looking to do something very similar to what you're doing right now. It's all about why you do your work, not necessarily what you do for your work. And one of the reasons we've uncovered for that is that if it's only about what you do for your work, it then makes the relationship very transactional. It makes the relationship very much like, okay, cool. Can this person get me a job? Can this person get me an internship? It becomes less about the what am I trying to achieve for my career and where am I trying to go for my career. What we find is that most people's career paths are non-linear. It's not like you get a degree in a specific field and then all of a sudden you land that job in that field and that becomes your career and you just follow all the natural steps moving forward. More often than not, it's circular. You go up, you go down, you go left, you go right, you go zigzag. Ultimately, when it comes to a career, it's almost never a linear path. And so, what we find to be most critical when it comes to mentorships is aligning this why, this work orientation. That makes that relationship so much more quality and productive when it comes to the relationship. So you'll notice on your dashboard, more likely than not, your mentee and your work orientation are very much in alignment. Let me just check the comment section to see if any of y'all have any questions so far. Um, what if we don't have a mentee match yet? So we've made the mentee intros yesterday, Hannah. Great question. However, I will say this. Every semester there are some mentors who just signed up and then determined they just don't have the time or availability to do this, and we will want to follow up with you. So let's give this 2 weeks. And if we still haven't followed up with you, then we'll want to have you be a mentor next semester, and we'll make sure to prioritize to have you as a mentor next semester. And yeah, more likely than not, we will probably reach out to you because invariably every semester there's always a mentor who thought they could be a mentor and then something changes in their life and they can't be a mentor anymore. Very cool. Thanks for introducing yourself, everybody. So let's go into the notes. So let's just talk about why being a mentor is important. Being a mentor is important is because college students who have a mentor are nearly 3 times as likely to thrive in their livelihoods than students who don't have mentors. College students who have mentors through their organization show greater levels of positive emotional feelings towards their organization as alumni. College students who have mentors are 32% more likely to be engaged in their work compared to students who don't have mentors. This is according to the Gallup Purdue Great Jobs, Great Lives report. And just outside of the work and impact to students, being a mentor is extremely rewarding in the sense that it can teach you new things and provide you somebody in which you can bounce things off of. So it can be really valuable in terms of the mentor. Just being a mentor can be incredibly beneficial, incredibly helpful just to another student as they enter their careers. So I've kind of alluded to this so far, but how are we preparing students to meet with you? We have AIM workshops teaching students the skills to prepare for meeting with their mentors. We bring in speakers from across the world to provide guidance and insight to our students. And by the way, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can have access to all of our higher ed workshops. So if you're interested in watching them or any of our other content, we make all of our content live here. So we also have executive programming and executive content. We've got student content. We've got alumni content. So we have an alumni mentee program as well where we teach alumni who maybe want to get a mentor. Maybe they got into their career and realized like, uh-oh, this might not be the career for me. We teach them things like how to transition into management, or how to determine when is the right time to pursue additional education, or how to determine when is the right time to switch jobs, or how to handle conflict in the workplace. So, if you're interested in any of those topics, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have great workshops with really great guest speakers throughout this semester, where we will launch that and propose that throughout the semester. So we teach you students these skills and we help them as they prepare for their mentor relationship with you. The goal of teaching them these skills is that we equip them to make progress professionally so then they have options and pathways to their desired careers outside of solely relying on you. It is a lot easier to mentor somebody when you are guiding them as opposed to just putting all their eggs in your basket when it comes to their internship or job search or just their professional development in general. So, what to expect from this mentor relationship? We facilitated all the mentor intros. I think if you could start by having your first mentor conversation by March 19th, that would be a great goal. So follow up to the email Jelena sent immediately. Schedule your first mentor conversation. You can expect your student to have varying degrees of progress towards their career goals. So some students are freshmen and they're just like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. The world is their oyster. They have no idea where they want to go. Sometimes you'll have seniors where they're like, I know exactly what I want to do, but I want to have connections and build more relationships. Wherever they are in their path, support them. Ask good questions. The best mentors ask the best questions. Ultimately, what we know is that as a mentor, you are not here to just share all your war stories about all the things that you've done in your life. That is not necessarily what makes a great mentor. What makes a great mentor is someone who can ask great questions, who can practice curiosity, mentors who can be there to help support students as they develop and grow in their careers. Um, we'll run these workshops for you in a live fashion like this throughout the semester. We'll teach you questions that you can ask your mentee on how to build deeper relationships with them, how to broaden their perspective, how to focus, how to be accountable. And if you can't attend the live sessions, no worries. These are all on YouTube. So, meaning that you can watch them at your leisure. You can watch this again at a later date. Um, and so, anyways, yeah, that's how this works. Really, the last thing I want to cover with you all today is the three keys to being a successful mentor. There are three keys to being a successful mentor, I think in general, and I think this applies not only to being a mentor, but also a coworker, a parent, a colleague, a partner, and in pretty much every facet of your life. I believe there are three core things to be successful. And they depend on your strategy, your story, and your state. And I said them in reverse order of importance. So, state is the most important thing to being a successful mentor. And I mean by state, I mean physically, how are you? Are you coming in sad, mad, dejected, angry, jaded, just not in a good mood? If you do, it's going to be physically palpable. Most of our communication is via our body language. And so, if we're communicating via our body language that we are not in a good state, you want to know what? Our student is going to feel that. And they're going to feel like you're not interested in meeting with them, even though it might not have anything to do with them. It could be outside of their relationship with you. If they feel like you are coming in with a negative state, it's going to impact them. So, one of the things that I like to do before any mentor conversation is I like to stand up. I like to shake it out. I like to do some jumping jacks. I like to pound my chest like I'm King Kong. I'll scream at the top of my lungs. What I'm doing is I'm getting my endorphins going. I'm getting my blood flowing. And when I do that, I get my body into a state conducive to being in a good mood. And I'm giving off literal positive energy. And so ultimately, when we talk about, getting your state into a conducive state for being successful, that's what I mean. Pound your chest, shake it out, do a power pose, jump up and down, scream at the top of your lungs, do something to get your blood flowing. Because I know that ultimately you've got a long day, or maybe you've had a long day, maybe you've had a rough day, and for whatever reason, it's tough for you to get in the right mood. That is the sort of thing that can, at least for that 30-minute mentor conversation, get you in the zone to have a great call with your student. The second thing is your story. What is the story you tell yourself for why you will or won't be successful? So if you tell yourself a story like, oh, I don't have all the experience in the world, or oh, I only graduated semi recently, or oh, I don't make $1 million a year. I don't know if I could be a good mentor. If you tell yourself a story for why you're going to be a bad mentor, more likely than not, you're going to manifest it. So, what I want to ask you, post in the comment section, why will you be a great mentor? Post it. I want to learn about it. What about you makes you a great mentor? Are you a great listener? Are you a great question asker? Are you curious? Do you want to build people up? I want to know what makes you a great mentor. Post in the comment section. I would love to learn what your story is. What's the story you tell yourself for why you will be a great mentor? Post in the comments. I would love to know why will you be a great mentor? What if my mentee doesn't get back to me? Matt, Piety, um, I sent both an email and a text. I mean, the intro was made yesterday, so I'd say give it till Monday. If you don't hear anything back from them then, maybe send one more follow up. We'll do a check in at the 10-day mark. So we'll follow up in by the end of next week with every email introduction that we've made because they could be going through exam season. It could be a tough part of the semester. Um, I don't know, there could be something going on. I love it. Angelica, that's awesome. Jose, that's fantastic. Portia, that's amazing. Kristen, that's fantastic. B. Hale, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I love hearing the stories and learning the stories about why you will be a great mentor. Um, The last component to this is the strategy. What will the strategies be that you use to be a good mentor? I'm not necessarily saying at the very beginning start making referrals for your mentee, but I want to encourage you to start thinking about that. As you get to know your student better, think, who might they need to know to help them progress in their career? Or how could I help review their resume or cover letter? Or maybe we could practice an interview. What resources? Maybe you started using AI in your work, and maybe there could be something that they're using in AI that could help them prepare for the professional world. Whatever it is, those are the strategies to being a great mentor. But it starts with the state, it starts with the story, and then it goes to the strategies. If all we have are just strategies, but we're not coming in with a good state and we're not coming in with a good story for why we're going to be a good mentor, it's going to be very hard for our strategies as a mentor to land with our mentees. So I really want to stress the importance. Come in a state conducive to being a good mentor. Tell yourself a story for why you're going to be a great mentor, and then start thinking about ways you might be able to help your mentee as they work through whatever paths they're trying to work through. Alrighty. So I want to conclude this mentor workshop with just a little bit of gratitude. Thank you all for being a mentor this semester. I've already shared some of the research. Um, I've already shared some of the research about why being a mentor is so positive. Hey, Amy, welcome. Uh, and I'm just grateful to have you all as mentors this semester. You have no idea how impactful it is to a student. You might think, oh, this is just only a few calls over the semester, handful of calls, whatever. This sort of relationship might be something they don't have in their life and in their young professional career. And I just want to say how grateful I am for you all taking the time to be a mentor. This program cannot exist without you. Like I can run these workshops all day long, but at the end of the day, this program cannot exist without you all. And I just wanted to let you know how grateful I am to have you all as a mentor this semester. I really, really appreciate it. We're gonna have our next mentor workshop. It's gonna be on a different day. It's gonna be on Tuesday next week. Um, I'll be out of town for the latter part of the week, but it will be on Tuesday next week, and I would love to, yeah, I'd love to see you all there. In that workshop, what are we going to cover? We're going to cover how to set proper expectations for the mentor relationship. We're going to talk about the best way to handle any issues with mentees. So I see a couple people say, "Hey, I've reached out, but I haven't heard anything back." We will cover that in that workshop next Tuesday. What this upcoming Tuesday, the 10th. Um, how to help students with key issues they're facing on a regular basis, like finding balance and identifying a vision. That's what we're going to cover in our mentor workshop 2, which will be next week. Um, If y'all have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to my colleague Jolene, whose email is support@ambitionemotion.com. She's the one that she's the one who made the email introductions to your mentees yesterday, and yeah, I that's pretty much it. I just wanted to reiterate how grateful I am for you all. I love the strategies that y'all are putting in there. Ops by Jay, that's amazing. Josh, that's fantastic. Meeting a mentee where they're at, I totally agree with you. Um, Fantastic stuff, everybody. Um, Joel, fantastic. Allison, excellent. I'm just so grateful to be working with you all. Thank you for taking the time to be a mentor. I'm so excited to get started, and I look forward to seeing you all next week in our second mentor workshop. Have a great rest of your day.